Audio test, 1, 2, 3. This is an audio test for today's board meeting, June 1st, 2026.
Morning.
Good morning. For any callers who wish to provide public multiple item or single item comments, please raise your hand so I can ask you to unmute and list your name for the record. Thank you. Children's Voices Matter. What item are you speaking on today?
I would like the public comment, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Georgina McPhee, go ahead. What item would you like to speak on today, Georgina McPhee?
Hi, yes, I'd like to speak on minutes, the tree removal and public comment.
Okay. That's two multiple item and public comment.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Audit LA, what items will you be speaking on today?
Good morning. Public comment and all items, please.
All items?
And public comment. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
iPhone 4, what items will you be speaking on today?
Public comment, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to all attendees joining us in the hearing room. If there are any members of the public who wish to offer commentary on any agenda items, please find the speaker cards are located in the back of the room along with agendas. Please bring the speaker card to the facilitator seat. Make sure it has the agenda item number you are speaking on. Thank you. Good morning, Gigi. What items would you like to speak on today?
Just general.
Thank you. Good morning, Petalman. What items would you like to speak on today? Hello? Petalman? What items would you like to speak on today?
Tree removals, the last item.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The last item, tree removals on Tenera, Eagle Rock.
Okay, that will go under multiple items and you will have up to 1 minute for that item.
Why is that multiple items?
Multiple items, so you will be speaking on agenda item for tree removal, correct?
For the last item on the agenda, yes.
Okay, you will have up to 1 minute to speak on that item.
Okay, yeah, not multiple items. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. For all callers who wish to provide public multiple item or single item comment, please raise your hand on the virtual platform so I can unmute you and note you down. Martha, what items would you like to speak on today? Martha? Are you there? Marion King, what items would you like to speak on today?
Onto your way. I think it's item number 5. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, thank you. So that will be under multiple items. Thank you. Good morning. We are now in record mode.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Monday, June 1st, 2026. Ms. Reyes, please take roll and establish quorum.
Okay, we will start with you, President Kane, Vice President Chavez, and President Pro Tem Grant. We have quorum, and we are joined today by City Attorney Representative Thomas Vega. And I am Sandy Reyes. I will be facilitating this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will get started with general public comment, which is an opportunity for the public to address the board on public interest items and will be provided up to 1 minute per person, up to a cumulative total of 10 minutes for the general public comment segment of each regular meeting. Testimony shall be limited in content to subject matters which are within the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. The board may not take any action on any matters discussed during the public comment period. This is for general public comment. For those of you who are here for item number 4, we'll take that up once we get to item 4. But if there's anybody else here wanting to comment about anything else in the general public comment, you have 1 minute. I don't think we have any in person, so we'll transition to our virtual platform.
Yes, we will begin with Children's Voices Matter. Children's Voices Matter, you will have up to 1 minute.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. For every permit awarded to Scientology, it strengthens the system built on child abuse to include child slavery. Nothing is born in a vacuum. For every person, whether government official, police officer, or citizen, that validates and solidifies so-called freedom of religion, where systemic child abuse, coercive control, and crimes against humanity continues. When people support and encourage the machine of Scientology, we too are participating in crimes. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Georgina McPhee. Georgina, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I really think you need to open up that street of L. Ron Hubbard Way. You need to change the name of the street back to North Berendo. You need to make it accessible to parking. By closing off that street and by letting even the police live under the false impression that that's a private road, and the public and the neighborhood all are under the false impression that that's a private road. By allowing that to continue, you're halting traffic from going down that street. You're halting pedestrians from walking down that street. And that's at a huge detriment to their enslaved labor force, the Sea Org, their indentured servants. Their only avenue of escape is that street. They cross that street from time to time, and some of them never even get to traverse the street. They're kept in the underground tunnel there. And without pedestrians being able to walk down that street, the help signs that are taped into the windows
Thank you.
don't
That's
get.
time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Audit LA. Audit, go ahead.
Good morning. From May 22nd to the 24th, Scientology closed L. Ron Hubbard Way without a permit to do so. An original permit was applied for by some other kind of group, but, to try to make it sound like it's not Scientology, but it was Scientology. The electricity was hooked up to their buildings. They had their security working it. Their people were managing it. They set up, did the takedown, everything. It was Scientology. And then they lied to the police and showed a permit when they came. This has to stop. This emboldens them, okay? It's not only just that yes, we want the street open for the obvious reasons, but how do they get away with lying to the city? How do they get away with shutting a street down for a festival for 3 days? Even the neighbor who lived on the street tried to get down there with her car and was turned away. She did not know. The own street she came home from wherever, did not know it was going to be shut down. So this has to stop. There has to be real
Thank you.
enforcement.
That's time.
Thank you.
Next, we have iPhone 4. iPhone 4, go ahead.
Good morning. Scientology applied for a permit to hold a street festival 2 weeks ago and was denied, but still held the festival anyway. Also, the United States International Foundation did not get a permit to hold the Colombian Festival. Scientology then blocked the street illegally and made it difficult for pedestrians to use the sidewalks. How will Scientology be held accountable for this illegal road closure? What penalties will be given to them? They used the cover of the Colombian Festival to recruit new followers to their cult. Education needs to be given to the police because they thought L. Ron Hubbard Way was a private street, but it is a public street. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. And next, we have Gigi. Gigi, go ahead.
Yes, so how many times have we told you about Scientology violating the permits and the terms that you guys have given them? They are supposed to be giving flyers out to the neighborhood within, I think it said 500 feet or whatever. They're not giving flyers out. They're not putting flyers out. And like it was mentioned before, there was no permit and they shut down the street anyway. Why is this, allowable? How come you guys are going to still give them permits in the future? You guys need to stop giving them permits because they do not know how to follow the rules. It's not about their religion. It's about they violate every single time. And this time they didn't even have a permit. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. President Kang, we have 2 more with their hands raised. May I check?
Yes, please.
Laura FM, would you like to offer public comment?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning.
President Kang, we've been calling, as you know about this situation. We're asking for something to be done, which actually would result in Scientology not completely human, taking humans and enslaving them under the disguise of city permits. Somebody has to stop this. This has been going on for so long. This has been going on for 60 plus years. I was a child born and raised in this. You know about this. Why do they keep getting permits? This last permit they just had, they absolutely did without okay. Why would you ever give Scientology a permit ever again? Why? They've been violating this for years, over 40 or 50 years, but now you're just catching on to it the last maybe 2 to 3 years. Stop giving them permits. They literally just closed down a street and had a whole event without your approval. How is that acceptable? And if they're able to do that, how many times you think they've done that already?
Thank you, Laura.
It's-
That's time. Martha, iPhone, would you like to offer public comment? Martha, iPhone? Okay, that's all for virtual platform.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close general public comment portion of today's meeting and move forward with multiple agenda item public comment. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public wishing to speak on more than one agenda item during multiple agenda item comment period for up to a minute per item, up to a total of 3 minutes per meeting. This is the only time to speak on more than one agenda item, and please identify the items that you will speak on when you are called. We'll transition to our virtual callers.
Okay, we will begin with Georgina McPhee. Georgina, you will have 2 minutes. Georgina?
Hi, thank you. I want to start with the minutes. The minutes need to reflect the fact that these people are calling in week after week with the same complaints, complaints of collusion and Scientology making you guys look like fools, disobeying all the laws and procedures everyone else in the community has to obey. But because they're in the pockets of the police force and in cahoots with politicians, they're allowed to get away with disobeying the laws, and it makes you guys look complicit. If you're not in their pockets, then why are they allowed to get away with this? The last thing I want to talk about is the trees. How dare you want to take down so many trees and allow so many to take down trees? I hope that this stays in place, that they are denied access or permission to take down the trees. But we know what most of them do. They'll just take the trees down and pay a small fine later, because that's what people do in this day and age. Our trees need to be protected. They need to have larger fines for when they do this sort of thing. And I hope that if the trees are removed, native trees are put in their place. Save the trees. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Audit LA. Audit, go ahead.
Good morning. I want to start with the trees, but from a different angle. Okay, I'm curious why, and I don't like the fact that, okay, there is an appeal to this, the original agenda item, but you, from the beginning, are saying recommend to deny the appeal. This is public government. It should be that you take a neutral stand, you hear from all the people, and then you make your decision afterwards. But that's not happening here. But at the same token, I'm jealous that their appeal even made it to the agenda, because I have requested a formal revocation of the R permit in writing. And I guess I would even prefer you putting on the agenda with a recommend to say no than to be completely ignored. There's not even a saying, yes, we received your appeal, we received your application, nothing. So, but at the same time, please, show neutrality. And that's where we're coming with a lot of what we talk about. There doesn't seem to be neutrality in this city. Now, and I also, with the trees, I told you last time at the Scientology building, I thought it was Scientology that plugged up the bees and killed them. And so my apologies. If that's the one apology I'll ever give them, is that no, it wasn't them. It was Public Works, you guys plugged the tree and killed a nest of bees. That was unnecessary, especially since there's so many beekeepers that would have been glad to collect them for you and transport them and save their lives. Please don't do that. And yes, and if you are going to replace these trees, then please make sure they're either native or drought resistant. But at the same time, make sure any trees removed are replaced, and they should be replaced double. If they take one tree, they should have to replace them with double trees, even if it's not at the same location, somewhere else. You need to increase our canopy. Next, I want to talk about the one where they are where you're making the agreement with the railroad to reimburse Public Works or to make sure that you're not charged. I think that's great. I mean, I'm learning something new. I didn't even know you had that ability or had that for the agenda. So I'm learning because where my mind goes with that is that eventually the city's going to be sued, okay, for especially, it's going to have to, because if it continues with what we're talking about, that, like, say, Scientology is continuing to close city streets down without a permit, eventually there's going to be a lawsuits. And so, so eventually the city's going to be held liable. So I like the fact, though, that you are thinking about how do we prevent liability for the city? How do we prevent, us from having to pay this stuff? And so maybe whenever you do give out, I know you give out the forms holding the city harmless, which is their way, I guess, of doing that. I think that's similar. But what happens when there isn't a permit,
Thank you,
like
Audit.
2
That's
weeks ago?
time. Next, we have Marion King. Marion, go ahead.
This is for item number 4. Do we give a comment now or wait for a presentation?
We will wait on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have 2 more callers. Laura FM, would you like to offer multiple item comment?
Yes, multiple and all agenda items.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to speak about the minutes, neighborhood councils, and I want to first start with just in general, your Bureau of Engineering. They need all your departments have to be notified about these front groups of Scientology because they're doing major infiltration right now, including with children, obviously, because that's where Scientology gets their power. But what needs to be done is departments like the neighborhood councils, the minutes need to have it reflected that people have been calling in, begging you, demanding, emailing you, to all of your members, to all the members on the board, to who it may concern, to stop giving Scientology permits. We're asking you to reflect that on the minutes. We're asking you to notify the neighborhood councils and make it a big deal. It is a big deal. The reason Scientology is getting away with their human trafficking is because of situations like this that they've full on infiltrated over the years. So notifying neighborhood councils, like the fact that they just had an unpermitted event in the East Hollywood area on L. Ron Hubbard Way that was stolen. The name was stolen and put there. It should be back to North Berendo. The neighborhood councils have to know about this. They wouldn't accept it. You know why? They think that you guys, Public Works, are going to be the responsible ones making sure they're not getting permits. But you're not. You're giving it to them. And then when you didn't give them the approval, they did it anyways. They should not receive any more permits now, period. Violation after violation, and nobody does anything about it. Maybe if you alerted the neighborhood councils about Scientology's infiltration, not just at the blue buildings in East Hollywood, but all of the different cities in Los Angeles, because that is what Scientology does, infiltrating the neighborhood councils and then infiltrating your permits department in some way where they can just pay off fees. It's not okay. This also needs to be reflected on the minutes. How many times are we going to say this? It needs to be reflected on the minutes. It's inexcusable that a cult gang organization like Scientology is getting away with this under your watch and under your approval because you keep giving them permits. We, as the people who were born and raised in this cult and who were born and raised in Los Angeles, are sick of Scientology's infiltrations. And part of the reason they get away with it is because little things like the minutes not being updated or just simply stating that Scientologists have been infiltrating and using the permits to infiltrate and recruit people into their human trafficking cult. So please make that very clear and let the neighborhood councils know. Do not
Thank you,
let
Laura. That's time.
Scientology on your boards.
That concludes our virtual platform.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close multiple item public comment portion of today's meeting and move forward with the approval of minutes for Monday, May 20th, 2026. I'll move. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Okay, we will roll call the votes. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
All ayes. This item is approved.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our agenda, item number 1 from the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 15, request for authority Union Pacific Railroad.
Good morning, President, Commissioners. Carlos Chaves, Harbor District Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering. This board report requests authority for the city engineer to execute an agreement with Union Pacific Railroad associated with a development at 15116 South Vermont Avenue. Union Pacific recently updated its policy and now requires public agencies and not private developers to enter into an agreement for railroad engineering review. This item would authorize the city to execute the required agreement while ensuring that all review costs are fully funded by the developer. The developer would be required to deposit $45,000 into a B permit work order fund and enter into a financial assurance agreement establishing responsibility for 100% of the Union Pacific's railroad engineering review costs. As a result, no city funds are required and there's no financial risk to the city. We've coordinated this process with LADOT, the City Attorney's Office, Office of Accounting, and as well as Union Pacific and the developer. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, I'll move. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Okay, we will take a roll call vote. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Okay, this item is subject to conditions and moves forthwith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 2 in Council District 10, revised budget, Ford EC Inc.
Good morning, Commissioners, Executives, City Attorney, and Board staff. Ohaji Abdullah here with the Bureau of Engineering Architectural Division. We are here this morning to request your approval to revise the funding table and contingency related to the Ford EC construction contract for the PO Pico Park and Parking Structure Project, which includes a recommendation to authorize $400,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of approximately $19.8 million for the PO Pico Pocket Park and Parking Structure Project, and also includes a recommendation to authorize the revised funding table that includes revisions to funding sources. In June of 2024, the board awarded the contract to Ford EC in the amount of approximately $17.4 million with a contingency amount of $2 million for a total approved construction budget of approximately $19.4 million. The project is located at 694 South Oxford Avenue within the boundaries of the existing parking lot of the PO Pico Koreatown Branch Library, The project goals are centered on increasing active park space in the dense urban community on City of Los Angeles owned property. While addressing the need for more park space, this co-location creates a nexus between the children's activities in the proposed pocket park and the adjacent library. The overall project scope includes the demolition of the existing parking lot, construction of an underground parking lot, construction of a pocket park on top of that parking deck, and it also includes add alternates for the construction of an entrance canopy at the existing Pio Pico library, and an add alternate for the replacement of existing curtain walls within that library as well. Council District Number 12 and the Koreatown community are fully supportive of increasing active park space and the project in general. And this co-location creates a nice nexus between the children's activities in the proposed pocket park and the adjacent library. Additional funding is provided by the Economic and Workforce Development Program. The funding consists of CRA funds from completed projects that received additional interest and inflation and were subsequently reprogrammed to this project. Utilizing these funds will reduce the usage of MICLA or general funds on the project, and subsequently will reduce the project's impact on the city's current budget. The remaining approved contingency of approximately $800,000. The remaining approved contingency is approximately $800,000. The project is roughly 50% complete, and we anticipate the need to utilize the current contingency and the additional funding in the amount of $400,000 to address issues related to the waterproofing of the deck, client requested scope, and negotiations to resolve anticipated claims. I'm ready for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. I did see a minor typo that it says Council District Number 12, but it's actually number 10.
It is. Apologies.
Correct. Thank you. With that, any questions from fellow commissioners? Quick question just on the final schedule. What's the current completion date that's scheduled?
Right now, we're still negotiating some claims in terms of time impacts, but we're seeing this completed early first quarter of next year.
Okay. So last time I was told January of 2027.
Yes.
But is still that the target goal?
Yes.
Okay.
But as things push and further and back, we're still not seeing it going further than the first quarter of next year.
Okay. Got it. Understood. Thank you very much. I'm happy to move. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you so much. Have a great morning.
Okay, moved by President Kang and seconded by President Pro Tem Grant. Okay, report is adopted. We will take a vote on this. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Okay, report is adopted, subject to conditions forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 3 from the Bureau of Sanitation, request for authority, Geosyntec.
Good morning, President Kang, Board Commissioners, Acting Executive Officer, City Attorney Representative, and city staff and members of the public. My name is Susie Santolina, a Senior Environmental Engineer in the Safe Clean Water Implementation Division of LA Sanitation and Environment. On behalf of LA San, I am pleased to present this board report that requests the following: authority to award task order solicitation S-063 to Geosyntec to provide Safe Clean Water Program support services, approval of a total budget of $4.6 million, including contingency, and approval of the terms of engagement, beginning with the notice to proceed date until June 30th, 2029. For context, the Safe Clean Water Implementation Division within LA Sanitation is charged with managing the city's implementation of water quality projects to meet the regulatory requirements of the Clean Water Act's NPDES Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Permit or Stormwater Permit, and its associated total maximum daily loads. Through the management and implementation of the program, the Safe Clean Water Program. To this end, this TOS will provide program support with various tasks needed for this program, including managing the program's 10-year capital improvement program or CIP for stormwater projects, updating the municipal project scoring criteria that we'd use to prioritize projects within the city, developing new project concept reports, regional funding applications, and applying for grants and other leveraged funding to work with the program, as well as project database and dashboard upgrades and maintenance and other as-needed services. In addition, under this task, consultants will assist in creating tools for tracking the mayor's office's goals around stormwater, such as the implementation of up to 100 multi-benefit stormwater capture projects and sourcing 70% of LA's water locally by 2035. Background on the TOS issuance. After issuing TOS S063 to our list of 31 on-call contractors, 21 consultants attended the pre-proposal meeting on December 16th, 2025. LA San reviewed and received 4 proposals from the following firms: Paradigm Environmental, Atkins Realis, Geosyntec, and CDM Smith. On February 17th, we interviewed these firms and evaluated their proposals. And then on March 9th, 2026, we gave a notice of selection to Geosyntec due to their experience with the Safe Clean Water Program, the feasibility of project development, their technical expertise, and the robustness of their team. We are currently in the process of creating a task agreement form to finalize the assignments and responsibilities so we can implement that as soon as this task is awarded. This TOS has a total budget of $4.6 million, including contingency, and the term of engagement will begin with the notice to proceed date and end at the expiration of the LA San Master On-Call contract, which is June 30th, 2029. This concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Vice President Chavez.
Susie, you mentioned that there were 21 that initially attended the pre-proposal conference, but only 4 ended up applying. I didn't see any discussion about potential reasons. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah. So the 21 consultants who attended the pre-proposal meeting often ended up teaming up into larger teams of consultants. So a lot of those actually ended up on some of the teams for the 4 proposals that we received.
Yeah, I did notice that this contract has a large subcontractor percentage. So, so that makes sense. And I was going to actually ask about that in terms of the prime versus the subconsultants. The subconsultants collectively total like more than half of the budget, and with the prime delivering less than a quarter of the work. So I'm just curious, are you effectively managing this extended subconsultant network rather than this just being a traditional prime, bureau relationship? And I'm just curious if you could talk about that, kind of how we're going to ensure that the institutional knowledge and the continuity of the program will reside with either the prime, or is it going to be dispersed amongst all the subconsultants, and how are you going to manage that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So we're working closely with the prime on the management of the sub-consultants for this. But I would say it might vary based on the task, whether we have direct contact with those subs. For example, one of the first tasks that we're prioritizing is a dashboard in order to report on the mayor's goals for water capture. And one of the subs working on that is Hazen Consulting, and they are a sub to Geosyntec, but we've been only interfacing directly with Geosyntec for, or we plan to initially, but we expect there to be meetings where that sub will be brought in as well, and we'll directly interface with them too. So it might vary depending on the task, I would say, but everything that we're trying to do, we're trying to use it as an opportunity to improve and increase our in-house resources too. So whatever the consultants work on, we want it to be able to be handed over to LA Sand at the end, and to develop and train our own internal staff to be able to take on some of these tasks moving forward. So there'll definitely be the need for that support, but also trying to see ways to beef up our own internal city knowledge and institutional knowledge too.
I mean, I think it's important. I think bottom line, it's really important that we invest in building LA Sanitation's internal capacity on managing this vitally important program that has associated funding with it. And I know that you're still developing sort of what the targeted project delivery is going to be for all the targeted communities, but I would like to see, once you have that and you have more information about what the community engagement's going to look like, what the targets are going to look like, come back to this board and present that information, because I think that's really crucial for all of us to understand, for the public to understand. And I know that's part of this, sort of we gotta walk before we can run kind of thing. And I know you guys have been doing a lot of work on this to be able to build that capacity and be able to deliver these projects to the communities that need them the most in a more efficient and expedited manner, given that this is an annual allocation of funds. So, look forward to see that when it's ready in the future.
Yeah, we can definitely come back and give a report on it. Appreciate that comment.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a first and a second?
So move.
Second.
First by President Pro Tem Grant, seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Thank you. We'll roll call the votes. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Okay, this item is adopted and carried forthwith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4 in Council District 14, request denial of appeal for a fee permit to remove trees at 4875 West Onteora Way. Before we take up the item, we will open single item public comment related to item number 4. We'll start with in-person speakers. I'll name a couple folks. You have 60 seconds. First up, we have Dr. Clyde Thomas Williams. Second, Carlos Alberto Ken Boros.
Hi, good morning. Dr. Clyde Thomas Williams, or Tom Williams, life member of Sierra Club and Angeles Chapter and various other organizations. Been fighting this one for a long time and will continue fighting. However, first things first. This board meeting and this venue for it are virtually irrelevant because you can't hear anybody in a distinct fashion. Now, why do I sit on the front row? Because I want to be able to hear, or at least notify the secretary as to what's going on, because it's too big for the systems that you have. So it's irrelevant, a lot of the stuff. And yes, I firmly support denial of this permit because we've been fighting it for a long time, and I hope we don't have to fight it later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Carlos Alberto.
Good morning, President and honorable members of the board. I oppose the removal of the protected coastal live oaks trees located on the land on Onteora Avenue in Eagle Rock, CD14. I live next to the property and have attended many community and neighborhood meetings regarding this proposed development. I'm not against an owner developing on their property, but it should be done responsibly and with proper permits. The removal of a substantial number of trees from the Onteora hillside should be studied furthermore, and environmental impact reports should be undertaken before any more permits are approved. For example, how will the removal of the trees affect soil stability, and what impact will this action have on the many houses at the foot of the hillside? A couple years ago, when the developer graded part of the property, a few homes below the project experienced mud damage after the first substantial rains. Mud also ran onto surrounding streets where these homes are located. Living there for 31 years, I have never seen this since I lived in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Ken Boros. And then Brooke Bennett.
Good morning. I'm so pleased to be able to represent, among others, all of my neighbors from Eagle Rock in opposing the destruction of one of the rare woodlands that are currently extant in Los Angeles. I implore you, the distinguished members of the commission, to please protect this gem of nature. It's a sanctuary for numerous species of fauna, and as you may know, we have been fighting to protect this marvelous gem of nature. Believe me, once gone, it's irreplaceable. I implore you, distinguished members, please vote to protect that wonderful woodland for all of Eagle Rock and for the people of Los Angeles. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brooke Bennett.
Good morning. I'm in denial of this removal of trees for multiple reasons. This developer has shown no course for the community multiple times, inclusive of for the last 7 years, he's been fined for never doing his fire clearance. It is still not fire cleared as of today. It was required as of May the 1st. He is aware of this. He's been fined multiple times. The city should be aware of this in their notes. Additionally, the trees protect the hillside from mudslides, which is what Mr. Burns just said. There has been a mudslide on Lock Haven since he did the developing of digging up the land in October of 2023. It has never been remediated. The trees give growth to that land and provide stability of that hillside. Without that, the city attorney could potentially see liability for the city from owners below because, again, the developer has not remediated the land. It is a disservice to the community in a fire now zero clearance area that we've now been defined as, that there is also no fire road that is actually going to happen for fire trucks to turn around in what he wants to develop.
Thank you,
Therefore,
Speaker.
I request it to be denied.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Kathleen Whittaker, and then Connie Acosta.
Good morning, commissioners. I urge you to deny for the denial of the permit to cut down 16 protected trees and shrubs from 4875 Ontiora Way. The removal will have a significant biological effect on the existing 3.2 acre land base. It's important to consider the consequences of the destruction of some of the live oak trees that are 80 plus years old, and some of them with 30 feet canopies. Moreover, the BPP report and the 2006 addendum that was given to you in the BPT report is flawed. Luxury homes built on 80 to 92 protected tree oak woodland is not a by right, a privilege for any developer. Homes
Thank you, Speaker.
must be reduced if that's to take place, or a home must be
Speaker,
removed.
that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Connie Acosta.
Good morning. I am Connie, and I am a member of the Alliance to Save the Ontiora Protective Tree Forests, because there are many. I urge you to please deny the Ontiora's appeal to cut down 16 protective trees and shrubs. In the summer, this vegetation provides clean oxygen to the residents in the nearby valley, which surrounds that mountain. Also, the wild also is a home for the wildlife. Since nearby hillsides are being removed of their vegetation, the wildlife runs rampant in the streets, and cars kill
That's time, Speaker.
them. So this is, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now transition to our virtual callers.
President Kang, I just want to make you aware that there's been more added to our list. Okay. We will begin with Marion King.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, commissioners. We are no closer to really understanding the true impacts of this project than we were, it's 18-year-old project. There is no sewer or storm drain plan. So the revised tree report speaks to the impacts. 55 trees and protected trees will be impacted by sewer and storm drains, yet we have no sewer and storm drain plan. I can guarantee you, you're looking back at 27 trees to be removed. So 16 is very understated. We're kind of doing this myopically, and it's not acceptable. Please, it's a very delicate project, and we need to have all the information up front. The M&D does not address the 55 impacted trees. We're talking almost 80% of the protected trees and shrubs on this property will be impacted, and we don't know how. So it's in your wheelhouse. And so please require this information before you make a decision. Thank you,
Speaker. Next, we have Glenn Hickman. Glenn, go ahead and unmute.
Yes, Glenn Hickman, licensed architect, active construction arbitrator, retired part owner of the largest builder in the United States, retired chief architect, largest A&E in the world. The developer would be better served to collaborate with the Niche tribal nation to invoke a conservation land dedication. I would ask that you deny this or put this on a stay to provide that collaboration. Denial is requested to avoid the interrelated technical impacts and future liability due to loss of tribal cultural heritage, substantial environmental impact, unstable geology, uncertain water, sewer, and storm hydrology, flawed fire truck turnarounds. Seriously, these are interrelated matters. The habitat of those trees influences that ridge. For the Public Works to approve the appeal without a stay or continued assessment, as Ms. King had just mentioned, would be a serious liability. We do not want landslides. We don't want the cultural heritage of our city compromised. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Yael. Yael Pardes, go ahead.
Please deny this tree removal permit. An M&D from years ago should not apply with all its negative impact resolved with unrealistic mitigations. No mitigations can repair this ecocide. 16 trees does not reflect the true destruction of this project. 55 trees will be encroached. No fencing will save them. By city's law, encroachment and damage to trees cannot be prosecuted unless they die, and we are seeing this already in other projects. Written protections are not enforced and trees are damaged. The replanting plan is unrealistic, especially with Zone 0 and fire brush regulations, with new trees overlapping existing trees and unable to thrive on an unreachable slope. Slope will have to be fully graded for stability and sewer lines, resulting in more environmental destruction and mudslides, as was demonstrated already. We don't have the tools, and LA doesn't have the tools to prevent this destruction. Only you can. A developer just needs to check some boxes, extend for years and years, miss deadline, lie, blame others, and still move ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. That's time. Next, we have Tyler. Tyler, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. I'm asking you to deny this request to remove more trees from the Onteora hillside. I am the owner of the property with the mudslide. My property has already been damaged because of water coming down from the development above us at 4875 Onteora. Now, the city has issued a notice of slope failure on my property, but geologists have determined that runoff from the uphill development directly created the erosion and slope damage. And it doesn't only affect my property, it floods the streets with mud and debris every heavy rain. What is most alarming is that the problem hasn't been fixed. The uphill property owner installed PVC pipes that direct water downhill towards neighboring properties, including mine, and those pipes are still there. Instead of removing them and fixing the drainage problem, they're now asking to remove more trees. I've not heard any or seen any plans to correct the drainage problems or stabilize the hillside. As far as I can tell, the underlying slope failure is being ignored while additional vegetation is being requested to remove. I'm not opposed to developing on the property, but it needs to be done
Thank you,
responsibly.
Speaker.
I respectfully ask you to
That's
put public safety first. Thank you.
Next, we have Peddleman. Peddleman, are you there?
Yeah, good morning, members. Paul Edelman, Deputy Director of Natural Resources and Planning for the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. You have a fresh letter that was sent last night. There's 71 trees impacted with this project. Luxury homes are not by right in oak woodlands in the city. The Conservancy urges you to deny the permit and send this developer back to the drawing board to design the houses better to protect more trees. He needs to customize the footprints more. It's not just a matter of putting luxury homes plucked into a hillside with massive retaining walls. CD14 needs to keep the nature it has, send this developer back to the drawing board, and deny the permit today. And the MND is inadequate as it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have iPhone 10. iPhone 10, are you there?
Hi, I'm Jessica Hubner. I ask that the permit be denied. The developer has been unscrupulous and misleading many times, initially starting out with no trees, no protected trees exist in the area. The homes are a potential of 14 to be built. That's going to impact everything. Drain runoff, fire truck access, homes below that already exist. This is a travesty. Please protect one of the few wooded areas that we have left in Los Angeles. Please deny this permit. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for listening to my comment. Calling in to support this project and the staff recommendation for approval. My wife and I have a 10-month-old, and we're soon to have another child. We're looking to move to Eagle Rock and build our lives there, and we've heard it's taken years to get this project approved. As everybody knows, there's a major housing crisis in Los Angeles, and it's really hard on families like mine. We need more housing, and we don't believe it's fair for those that already own homes in the neighborhood to try and block projects like this that make it so hard for families like mine from buying our first home. Please approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer Campbell. Jennifer, are you there? Jennifer Campbell, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for holding this hearing. I'm the president of the Friends of Walnut Canyon and Glassell Park, and as a member of the Northeast Los Angeles community, I really appreciate the beauty of our ridgelines. We have a ridgeline. Ridgelines are a part of our topography here in Northeast LA, and it really gives us a sense of place. This ridgeline that's expected to be developed is seen from Colorado Boulevard, it's seen from the 2 freeway, and it's a beautiful feature of our area. There's also mature oaks. Oaks take 20 to 30 years to become mature. So even replanting would be a generation or two. I'm opposed to this project. I think it's been shoddily planned, and they've been back and forth on this, and it would be such a shame to lose those trees in our beautiful
Thank you, Speaker.
neighborhood.
That's time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jonathan Lopez. Jonathan, are you there? Jonathan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for your time and listening to my comments. I am definitely in favor of this project. I am a Los Angeles native, and I'm looking to become a first-time homeowner. And everyone is always talking about the housing crisis in the city, and I think these NIMBY policies are just very, very hard on people like myself. That it's very difficult for me to basically become a first-time homeowner, and I just feel like this is a project that would be very eco-friendly as well, because I know the homes are modular, and I just think that this project should be approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, caller. Next, we have Jamie Miller. Jamie, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. I would also like to join in with everyone that wants to deny the permit. I'm also a homeowner. My husband spoke earlier. We received a mudslide on our property, and I also want to say we are first-time home owners, as people have been saying. And we've spent the last year and a half owning the home, going through legal battles with this company. And they're not doing it properly up there. You need to deny the permits. They still have PVC pipes haphazardly arranged at the top of the hill. And common sense just tells us that removing more trees is not going to help the issue that we already have, which is already affecting our property. Thank you.
Thank you, President Kang. That concludes our virtual platform.
Thank you very much. With that, I will close single item public comment for item number 4. So with that, I would like to bring up our Urban Forestry Division representative to start with his presentation.
Good morning, Honorable Board of Public Works. I'm Brian Ramirez with Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. I briefly want to address the reason why we are back here, just for a little bit of context as to the history of a couple other hearings that we held. On September 22nd, 2025, the Board of Public Works upheld Streets LA recommendation to deny the application to remove 27 protected trees. In November 12th, there was a subsequent hearing at the request of the applicant appealing that decision. And today is essentially a continuation of those hearings, which is why before you is the request for a denial of that appeal to bring closure to that matter, essentially saying to continue to uphold the recommendation to deny removing 27 trees. So again, requesting denial of appeal for a fee permit to remove 27 protected trees and shrubs. Also requesting CEQA determination on the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration, and requesting that this board approve a fee permit to remove 16 protected trees and shrubs, which include 13 coast live oak trees, 1 Mexican elderberry, and 2 toyon shrubs in relation to the city planning case, tentative tract 67938. And with this, I'll get into the recital. Really, the property owner, Arc Onteora LLC, or Noah Orenstein, is planning to build 9 single-family residences on these 9 vacant lots, along with a private road designed to access each of these lots in relation to the Los Angeles City planning case I just referenced, which was approved in 2008. The project site is located at 4875 West Onteora Way. This project, or the property, measures just over 3 acres in size, and it's located within the Eagle Rock Community and Council District 14. This 2008 project was a tract map application to subdivide the property and was approved by the City Planning Commission. This project, MND, or Mitigated Negative Declaration, analyzed in conjunction with the tract map application. They analyzed the removal of 13 coast live oak trees and replacement at a 2-to-1 ratio. Because this was a tract map, a tentative tract map, and not a vesting tentative tract map, the new ordinances applied to this project as they came in with the protected tree ordinance. So this replacement ratio is essentially 4-to-1 as we have it before us now. The 2008 approvals did not approve the removal of the coast live oak trees, but instead required as a condition that the applicant obtain the necessary and subsequent approvals by the Board of Public Works. This report reflects a change in the proposed project, resulting in a reduction in the tree and shrub removals that was previously requested, which was requesting 27 trees, but now it's a request bringing that number down to 16 removals. On transmittals 4 and 5, the protected tree and shrub report are available, and we have the tree replacement plan that was also distributed to you all. Essentially, they are removing 16 trees. 55 of these trees will be impacted but retained, and 18 protected trees and shrubs will remain with no anticipated direct impact by the construction. Currently, there are a total of 92 protected trees and shrubs growing within the entirety of the property. These trees being removed, again, are 13 coast live oak, 2 toyon, and 1 elderberry, and they are in good to fair condition. They measure approximately 6 to 33 inches in diameter by about 10 to 50 feet in height. There is a breakdown of the amount of removals being proposed per lot, and I'll just go through them very briefly. Lot number 1 proposes removing 4 coast live oak trees. Lot 2 proposes removing 1 Mexican elderberry. Lot 3 proposes removal of 2 oak trees. Lot 4 and 5 propose no removals of protected trees. Lot 6 proposes removal of 1 coast live oak. Lot 7 proposes removal of 2 coast live oak trees. Lot number 8 proposes removal of 3 coast live oak trees. And Lot 9 proposes removing 1 coast live oak and 1 toyon. There's an additional toyon for the proposed road that would be installed. For that private road, 1 toyon is being proposed for removal. The impact was unavoidable for 16 protected trees due to the proposed location of the footprint of the new single-family homes. I reemphasize that there was a reduction in the amount of tree removals that were proposed. As far as tree replacement, as a condition, if this board did approve the removal of these 16 protected trees and shrubs, the applicant shall plant each of those trees at a 4-to-1 ratio. The breakdown is essentially 64 trees and shrubs consisting of 52 24-inch box size coast live oak trees, 8 15-gallon or largest available container toyon, and 4 Mexican elderberry. There are also additional conditions that I'm not going to read verbatim, but they are within the report here. And as it pertains to the California Environmental Quality Act, the Department of City Planning previously prepared and adopted that MND in 2008. And since the city first adopted that, there were changes to the project, to the circumstances under which it was being undertaken. For that, the Bureau of Engineering Environmental Division, Mr. Norman Mundy is also here, Environmental Management Group did produce an addendum to that mitigated negative declaration addressing some of those mitigation measures, incorporating some of those to address whatever impact were outlined in the original MND. The The environment under which the project is being undertaken has also changed. The project must obtain a tree removal permit from the Board of Public Works. And based on the information and evidence in the addendum, which is transmittal number 6, which adds mitigation measures relating to tribal cultural resources and the record as a whole, none of the conditions described in the Public Resources Code sections call for the preparation of an additional addendum or an environmental impact report, but rather the addendum was determined to be the document to address the environmental impact or changes that occurred there. That essentially concludes my oral presentation. I'm more than happy to take any of your questions or address other issues more in detail here.
Thank you very much. Before we get to questions, I would like to invite our applicant, if the applicant has any additional information that they would like to share.
Hello, my name is Noah Ornstein. Thank you, Honorable Board of Public Works, President Kang, President Pro Tempore Grant, Vice President Chavez. We appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you today. We've worked very closely with staff to revise this project since we appeared before you previously. I would like to personally thank Brian Ramirez from Urban Forestry, who we've worked with very closely throughout this project, as well as Norman Mundy. Thank you very much for your work on this project, and Sigmund Shu from the City Attorney's Office. We appreciate all of the effort and time that you spend working with us to reach this compromise solution to greatly reduce the scope of trees that are being removed and recommend approval for this project, which we wholeheartedly believe will bring much needed housing to the city in this country that has one of the worst housing crises. We live not far from this project. This is our community. We have worked in this community for a long time, and we're excited to continue to bring much needed housing. I want to make myself available for any further questions about any of the items that came up in the staff report or any of the other comments. And I would like to make one note regarding questions regarding erosion control. We had built the erosion control system per the approved erosion control plan. And when the permits were halted, we were not able to continue the improvements. And as soon as they are reinstated with this approval, we will resume the construction of the approved erosion control plan, which should resolve any outstanding lingering concerns. Again, we wanted to thank you for staff recommending approval. The original protected tree removal application was submitted 1,238 days ago, and we've worked with staff regularly and complied with every request that has possibly been made, and we urge this board to approve the staff recommendation, support housing in Los Angeles, and allow us to build this great project. So thank you so much, and I would like to make myself available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. So we want to bring back Mr. Ramirez. Some questions. I'm happy to kick it off. In terms of sort of I know the applicant phrased it as the compromise. If you can kind of walk us through that from the initial removal to the 16 and how that was sort of derived and arrived.
To address some of the project adjustments, I would say that were made to the proposed design, and I will say proposed is whatever is shown on the plans. Some of the structures were shifted, most notably lot number 9. It appears to have reduced and shifted some of that footprint away from these trees. There's maybe I can defer that to actual like specific per parcel. I didn't bring a previous iteration with me, so I do apologize. But there were several elements that were proposed to be shifted, changed in order to reduce the impact on these coast live oak trees. I will say that the shifting of the structures did not constitute a complete no impact to the trees, but rather reducing the impact to the point where the trees can remain throughout construction if properly monitored. There are some there's some language within the protected tree report addressing some of the recommendations that the tree expert makes to the applicant to uphold everything from construction around the trees, anything within the drip line calls for direct observation under an arborist, hand excavation, and other measures that I can definitely elaborate on if needed. Those are really the compromises where that I can speak to regarding just again shifting structures. I don't know if it constitutes a reduction in square footage on some of those homes. So, would you like the applicant to speak on some of that?
President Kong, thank you for the question. We dramatically reduced the footprint of the homes in Lot 8 and Lot 9, and we additionally shifted the location from the homes to bring them farther up the hill on more of the flat area, allowing us to preserve a significant number of trees on both of those lots. So it's a net reduction of about half of the footprint of those homes, and the location also shifted upslope.
And since you're up, can you also address some of the comments we heard from the public in terms of the fire hazard and some of the issues that they've outlined in their public comment?
Is there a specific issue that you would like us to address?
Well, they were mentioning, several callers, that the applicant has failed to address sort of, I guess, the weed abatement that was necessary to prevent any types of fires or other hazards.
Yeah, so we have done our best to do weed abatement annually. Occasionally, when the fire department would come to site, they would request additional trimming of the oak trees or raising of the aprons on different trees on site. And if we did not do that in time, they would take care of it on our behalf. But we have had crews every year providing maintenance, and the site has been fenced and secured throughout the entire time that we've been working on this project. With regards to fire control, we have worked closely with the fire department on this project. They have requested turnarounds, which we have implemented, and they've also requested construction of 2 fire hydrants, one for the community and one for the parcel specifically. And so there should not be any concern regarding the potential ability to fight fires in this tract map. The city has also requested construction of multiple streetlights and other public improvements that will be available for the benefit of the community. And these improvements are on the public right-of-way. They aren't exclusive to the project. Their fire hydrants will serve the neighborhood. The streetlights will serve the neighborhood. And we believe wholeheartedly that this is a great project that's being built on vacant land that's surrounded on all sides by homes. This is not an undisturbed public park. This site was mass graded in the 50s and 60s with everything else in Eagle Rock for the installation of the public sewers and improvements that are underneath the site. We have submitted photos of the grading, and all of these improvements were built at the same time as members of the community that are here opposing these projects and opposing having new neighbors come into their community and new people be able to buy homes and live in the community as well. We've worked very hard with city staff. We've worked hard with the council office, urban forestry, city attorney, and have met every requirement from the BOE environmental management group as well. And we have stood by while there have been really incredible delays in this project, which have not been our fault, and we've been incredibly responsive to any city request. We look forward to addressing any other concerns. Were there any other things that came up during comment that you would like us to address more specifically?
And I also want to open it up to my colleagues as well. Commissioners, any questions or comments on your end to the applicant or even to Mr. Ramirez? Vice President Chavez.
This is for staff. So I'm trying to understand sort of what's before us here. So I understand the denial of appeal for the appeal that was before us in the fall. But we also have essentially a different project before us that was resubmitted. And so procedurally, I'm trying to understand why that wouldn't normally just be submitted as a new project. So can you explain sort of the thinking of why this is being done all as part of one action?
I could perhaps defer that to our legal counsel too. We had several discussions, but I believe a separate application or restarting the process in that regard may have constituted additional time for the applicant. As it's been stated, it's been quite some time, to say the least, that this application was submitted. I think that was the primary reason for bringing this item before the board in one single hearing to again, requesting the denial of the previous appeal by the applicant, but bringing back what the applicant had agreed to was to work with urban forestry to reduce that number of trees and present it to you today.
And this is Thomas Costello Vega, Deputy City Attorney. I think one point to clarify about why there's two items here is that two main actions associated with this one item, the denial of the initial appeal, and then the new recommendation to approve the more limited tree removal permit. For the appeal, there's a municipal code section 46.05, that does require an action to be taken on all of these appeals, even though for all practical purposes, it's essentially moot since we're now talking about this different scope, but there does need to be a formal action on that appeal pursuant to the municipal code. So that's really why that is also here. I think the more primary action is the newer request for the removal of the 16 protected trees and shrubs.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Just, will there be two votes or one vote?
One vote, and it would be depending on whatever motion the board makes. So the board is not required to approve the modified tree removal permit if that's what the board does not want to do. So you can modify, as always, what the recommendations are, but it could all be in part of one vote.
So,
there's no need for two
But
votes.
if the board voted to deny the new project, that would be a no vote. Does that mean that the appeal is not denied? It's because it's there's contradictory. It could be considered contradictory.
Yes, so if, it sounds like the scenario would be if there is a desire to deny the current 16 tree removal permit application, the board would still need to act today on the aspect of the agenda item related to the prior permit application. So you would just need to be clear what you are doing with respect to that as well.
So point of information, the board could bifurcate its vote if it so chose. So, okay, thank you for that. So, I mean, that's my understanding is, so in September 25, this board denied the removal request. It was appealed. We are now hearing this appeal of the original denial. And now we're being presented essentially a new, different project that is being recommended. And I see that there's an updated MND. I was reviewing it to the 2008 MND. So the 2026 MND is happening, what is that, 18 years later? And I know that the original MND was approved and reviewed by city planning before it made its way to the board. Was this updated one reviewed by city planning staff as well?
It was not, and this is not another MND. This is an addendum,
An addendum.
to the MND.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you for that clarification and pointing that out. So does that mean that this addendum largely defers to the original 2008 findings?
It does. Most of the findings on the original MND addressed things like air quality, soil erosion, and others to a degree. The addendum essentially adds on to some of those findings and actually incorporates additional mitigation measures that are found within the actual body of the report.
And I didn't see anywhere in this addendum, probably because this is not what an addendum usually does, there was no analysis of cumulative impacts of the project. Cumulative impacts. There was no analysis included because normally when there's an analysis, a broader analysis, you're taking into account the larger context where a development is occurring in the broader area. A lot has changed in this neighborhood since 2008 in the last 18 years, but none of those impacts were included in this analysis that I could see.
I would like to defer that over to Mr. Norman to take up any of those questions. His group directly worked to compile that report, so I'll hand it off to Mr. Norman here.
Thank you. Good morning. Norman Mundy, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Management Division. And we were involved in the review of this project from the perspective of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. So since this is a project that falls within the ambit of CEQA, we had to perform an analysis of the project to comply with what CEQA demands of us. So as you said, in 2008, there was a mitigated negative declaration prepared for the original project. And that document, the MND from 2008, was adopted by the City of Los Angeles at that time. And that document evaluated the wide range of potential environmental impacts from the project, and also imposed a robust list of mitigation measures that would be used to reduce impacts from the project to a less than significant level. So we had our 2008 MND, and then as the project went through different iterations, we came to what you accurately describe as sort of a new project now. The new project is removal of 16 trees rather than the original amount, which I think was 27 at one point. So in order to determine if this new project with the 16 trees would have any additional impacts, we prepared what's called an addendum to the MND. And the addendum looks at how the changes in the project, the changes over time in the environment and the circumstances at the site may affect the environment. What we found in the addendum is that the changes to the project did not result in any new significant impacts that could not be mitigated. And they would not increase, the new project would not increase the severity of the impacts that were identified in the 2008 MND. So the addendum to that, for example, during the passage of time from 2008 till now, CEQA now requires that we look at tribal cultural resources. So, which was not a requirement back in 2008. So, for example, our addendum has a mitigation measure relating to tribal cultural resources for the project. So the addendum brings up to date the environmental analysis and supplements to some extent the mitigation that was adopted back in 2008.
But would you agree or disagree that this review that occurred, did it or did it not include an analysis of cumulative impacts?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I could check, and I can do that while I sit here. But
Because here we're just looking at mitigation measures, which is what a mitigated negative declaration is, and this is an addendum to that. But that's not a substitute for an environmental analysis. So I'm saying between 2008 and 2026, a lot has changed in the broader context. I mean, the legislative has changed. We have different ordinance that we did back then. There's new laws that have taken effect. The environment itself has changed. The context of development has changed in that neighborhood, and it's important. That's why when you look at cumulative impacts, you have to look at the project in the context of what else has happened in the vicinity, because especially when you're looking at impacts, even if they in the project may seem small or incremental, as part of a broader, we have to look at things more broadly in a cumulative way, and that's why the cumulative analysis is important.
yes, now I understand your question. Thank you for clarifying. Yes, the cumulative impacts of this particular project would be discussed, evaluated in the context of the existing environment today at the project area. And I don't know for sure, but there probably has been some development in that area between 2008 and today. But our project itself would not result in any significant new environmental impacts, or would not increase the intensity of the impacts that were identified in the original MND.
But the additional analysis has not occurred. That broader analysis was not required as part of this.
You know, that's one thing I'm not sure about, and I should know this as a CEQA practitioner, but I'm not sure if an MND is required to do a cumulative analysis. But nonetheless, I do want to emphasize that our analysis was based on the current conditions on the site, and especially with respect to the trees. There's been a growth of trees over the period of time. So what our analysis looked at was the site as it is today and the impacts that the project in its reduced form would have on the environment.
I just feel that there's an internal consistency, because the reason there was another addendum to the additional 2008 MND is that circumstances have changed enough to require a new mitigation measures. But then we're also saying that the 2008 findings are adequate. So it just seems logically inconsistent to me.
Yeah, in terms of the cumulative impacts, the cumulative impact evaluates the project in the context of its immediate environment and the vicinity. Now, if this project is indeed a project to build 9 new single-family residences. The cumulative impact of that, whether or not there is a cumulative impact, would be based on what's surrounding the project site at the moment. And that area is fully developed all around the project site. So there may be, so it is fully developed around the project site. And the contribution of the current project would not change the nature of the neighborhood. It's a single family residence as it is. Yeah, that's.
Members of the public, I do apologize. Public comment has closed, so unfortunately, we can't have members weigh in. But before we get to President Pro Tem Grant, I do want to invite the applicant up really quick.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. The cumulative impacts of the project were absolutely thoroughly reviewed with the city attorney and with the CEQA team at the Bureau of Engineering. One of the foundational criteria of a CEQA addendum per CEQA guidelines 15164 is that the cumulative impacts are analyzed in total, and the criteria for an addendum is that the cumulative impacts do not rise to the level of a substantial change in the adverse environmental impact. It is one of the only foundational criteria that have to be met in order for an addendum to be issued. Subsequent to that determination by the city attorney and the BOE, we then compiled new technical analyses to support any requests and additional information. This included full biological resource analysis for any updates in the flora and fauna in the entire area, and this did include the area surrounding the project. It was not confined to the parcel. Additionally, we did a thorough tree analysis, and we also submitted all of the required engineering reports for geotechnical, sewer, fire. All of this analysis was done. So there, in this project, there is an adopted and recorded MND, and CEQA is very clear that this cannot be reopened. This can only be reopened due to a change in project. That was analyzed by the city attorney and the Bureau of Engineering, and the determination was made that the project did not change and that the circumstances did not change. And there was a need for an addendum, which has been completed. So there were absolutely wholesale analyses of any circumstances around this project, and there's absolutely no cumulative analysis that is required by CEQA that was not already performed when the city determined that the addendum was going to be required and issued. We then worked with every city department for preparation of this addendum, and there are also additional mitigation requirements in the addendum that were not in the original MND that is current as of May 2026. This has been exhaustively reviewed by the city attorney and the Bureau of Engineering and is compliance with every aspect of CEQA. Additionally, as I have said repeatedly before, there is an adopted and recorded MND for this project. An addendum is the right method of analyzing any changes in circumstances. That was done, and there are no other effects or impacts per CEQA that are required at this time.
Thank you very much. Let me transition over to President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you. Brian, it's good to see you as always. Value and learn from your expertise. In fact, I think the first time you came when I was on the board was there's an issue where the Santa Monica Conservancy a letter was required of them for a project, and I think it wasn't developed. In this instance, though, the Santa Monica Conservancy has opposed the project. Is that correct?
As I understand it, one of the representatives did comment in opposition to the project.
And then originally there was a letter of opposition from the Gabrielino and the Kisk Nation opposed to the project. Has that letter been rescinded, or is that still in effect?
I've not heard or seen any subsequent retraction from them. No.
One of the advantages of having a board like this is the transparency and the opportunity for public comment. So a number of issues have come up that have piqued my interest, if you will, in this. One is the issue, maybe it's been resolved, whether or not there was sewage and drainage drawing of the slope and how that will impact surrounding areas. Has those drawings been submitted to you, or are they in effect? Do you know?
As far as like drainage plans?
Drainage and sewage.
I don't believe we have that on record. We have what we needed as it pertains to the tree removal application. Wow. I will say, and just to kind of touch back on the whole cumulative aspect of this, the MND and what we have on record as one of the transmittals here speaks to the different types of impact and everything from cultural resources, geology, soils, tribal hydrology, water quality, mineral resources, noise, all of that. You could say it's a cumulative impact on the MND's assessment of the project and what would happen. But as far as the geology or soil erosion issues, it's the addendum mentions so long as the municipal codes, as they do the grading, as they're adhering to those municipal codes, the current codes, those issues would be deferred to Department of Building and Safety to ensure that it's compliant, essentially, once the grading is done. I don't know how well I answered that question.
It's about as good as I was inarticulate in asking you. They're probably at the same level.
Sure.
I don't mean to interrupt, Commissioner.
No, please.
But with respect to the Kij Nation and the letter they submitted, one of the things that is in the addendum is the city will consult with the local tribes in the area in order to fill the tribal cultural resources mitigation measure. So there is a mitigation measure imposed through the addendum, and that mitigation measure requires, first of all, consultation with tribal representatives that have an interest in the area, and then secondly, the tribal representatives can recommend monitoring activities and things should there be evidence of potential tribal cultural resources. So there will be consultation with the representatives of the relative or the appropriate tribes in that area.
Thank you. But there has been none to this date, as far as you're aware. Any consultation?
I'm not aware of what's happened to this date, but
I mean, the suggestion is consultation, but there's been no consultation. At this point, we don't really know what the position of the tribes are.
When I use the term consultation, I'm speaking in terms of CEQA, what CEQA requires. So, and CEQA does require now the analysis of tribal cultural resources. So when I say this consultation will occur, it's in the CEQA context. I don't know the previous history of communications between tribes or consultation at that point. But in terms of CEQA, the consultation will occur as a result of the mitigation measure that's been imposed in the addendum to the MND.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, though I'm a little concerned that initially they were opposed to the project, and now we're saying a proposal is, through the addendum, that if we just do a consultation, we're okay. And I'm not quite sure that that rises to the level, to me, to satisfy my concern about the opposition around this project.
Part of what I recall in that letter was an artifact that was found nearby, not at that project, but near that project. Part of the mitigation measure that's outlined within the addendum is to notify them at the commencement of any ground disturbing activity, because that has not taken place, that has not started yet. There has been no outreach or consultation, but there is language regarding ground disturbing activity. Anything from grading, digging, excavating would constitute that. It would trigger the mitigation measure and have this consultation. At this time, there hasn't been any outreach from at least from our department to the.
My concern is consultation does not necessarily is not the equivalent of protection of the resources. I mean, the city has a rather tragic history with respect to Playa del Rey, for one thing, in terms of there was discovered to be tribal concerns, and the city consulted, then went right ahead and developed it. So it doesn't necessarily equate to, in fact, protection of those resources. And that decision, seems to me, would be up to the tribes rather than us consulting with them.
I'll bring Sigmund Shu.
Hi, good morning, Commissioner. Sigmund Shu, Deputy City Attorney. I wanted to address the board, try to kind of clarify what's going on in terms of your questions, which are very good questions. So with regard to the tribal issues, as Mr. Mundy has pointed out, there's a mitigation measure that will require the applicant before construction and during construction activities, not only to consult with the tribe, but also the tribe will be there on site, right, to actually monitor the activities to make sure no native artifacts are recovered or impacted from the construction. So that's a very standard mitigation measure that's required where we're in an area that may have tribal cultural resources. And, you know, that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's the ultimate mitigation, but that's really the only mitigation that we do. And there's specific protocols that have to be followed in order to do that. So to the extent there will be tribal cultural resources on site, we, you know, based on prior experience and industry standards, this should be, this should take care of that issue. So in terms of formal consultation with the tribe, again, following the requirements of CEQA, that was technically not required in this case because it's an addendum to an MND. So there is no legal requirement to consult with the tribe beforehand. However, you know, based on prior experience, when we have consulted with the tribe, this is the type of mitigation that they want. And that's why it was imposed in this case. With regard to, I think you mentioned the Conservancy. Again, since it's an addendum to an MND, the Conservancy wasn't required to be consulted with. Be that as it may, right, their concern is with the biological analysis of the trees. And so when we're talking about the biological analysis, the MND by the Bureau of Engineering, by the city, went over the reports that were submitted by the experts that the consultant hired. There were a number of reports that were reviewed, and all that information ultimately reached the conclusion that with the new mitigation measures, which is a 4-to-1 replacement, which was greater than the 2-to-1 replacement in the 2008 MND, that it would be sufficient to mitigate impacts to less than significant. And so to the extent that that's the concern of the Conservancy, the MND and the addendum plus the technical reports set forth the conclusions of the city. Now, the board, in its discretion, can review those reports and decide for themselves whether or not to either defer to staff and then the experts that they relied on, or make its independent judgment whether or not that was not sufficient. And the board has full discretion to do so. So if that's the way, if the board is inclined to do so, then obviously it can do so. However, in terms of the technical information that was presented, that is what the city is relying on. And again, it's the information with the independent review of the Bureau of Engineering and also the technical reports that were submitted by the experts from the applicant. And if I could just a further point of Commissioner Chavez. So I just wanted to clarify for both an M&D and an addendum, a cumulative impact analysis by its nature, as Mr. Mundy has indicated, is not required. That is only for environmental impact reports. However, Commissioner Chavez is also correct in that there is also something called a cumulatively considerable analysis, which is similar to a cumulative impact analysis, but for any CEQA project, you do have to consider that. Again, in the addendum and the technical reports that were relied upon, submitted by the applicant's experts, they did analyze the current situation and the current conditions. And so that would naturally will include the analysis of any sort of cumulative issue. Again, the board is free to use its independent judgment and either credit that, or if it finds that it's inadequate, it can find that it's inadequate, and in which case then it is free to act upon its own independent judgment.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much. Given that I think it's just the three of us, any decision has to be unanimous. I sense that even for me, I don't think we have consensus on these issues, but if we can bifurcate and make it a little bit easier, I think we have consensus on recommendation number 1, which is denying the original appeal related to removing of 27 protected trees and shrubs. I'm inclined to just start with that, and then the rest, I think we can either talk through, or I'm even inclined for one final continuance when we have the full board. But colleagues, would you be open to just at least doing recommendation 1?
Yes.
Bifurcating.
I would agree with,
Yeah.
we should vote on recommendation
Recommendation
1.
one separate, and then we'll piecemeal it. Okay. So I'll start with recommendation 1, which is I'll move to deny the appeal in terms of a fee permit to remove 27 protected trees and shrubs. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll take a roll call vote, starting with President King
For just recommendation
for
1.
recommendation 1.
Aye.
And Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem
Aye.
Grant. Okay. The report for recommendation 1 is adopted, subject to conditions forthwith.
Thank you very much. And then related to the rest of the recommendation, if I know you all have been working through this, I just don't think we have consensus today on it. And I'm just looking at, would you be open to one final continuance? I think it would be in the best interest of all parties.
It's fine by the department. I know that the applicant might feel a little different.
Yes, President Pro Tem Grant.
There also was a request, I think it was by the Santa Monica Conservancy, for another analysis on another couple issues. I don't have that before me that I'd like to see before we go forward.
Thank you, the applicant.
Yes, we are open to a continuance. We would like to have a date certain. We would also like to note for the record that extensive communication with the tribes did occur, both by ourselves and by Norman Mundy. And I can forward email correspondence to this effect. And there were a number of conversations with them. And the result of that conversation was the mitigation measure that now appears in the report. So that we abided by all of the AB 52 processes. Everything was done, and extensive communication with both the tribal leaders and the attorneys for the tribal leaders was conducted. And with regards to any questions for drainage or sewage items, all plans have been submitted and approved. The reason there was excessive drainage was that when the Toyon permit was removed, we were not permitted by the city to complete the drainage mitigation plan. And I requested on numerous occasions to LADBS to allow us to complete the drainage mitigation plan, and that's what prevented that from occurring. So I can share those correspondence with you as well.
Thank you very much. So I would like to propose Wednesday, June 17th as the date. I think that should give us sufficient time to brief the rest of the board. And Commissioner Cardenas will be back by then from his medical leave. And I think we should have a more robust debate. I don't think we have consensus either way today with the remaining recommendations. So we'll reconvene on this item on Wednesday, June 17, 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Reyes, I believe that concludes our items for today.
Yes, it does.
All right. Our next meeting of the Board of Public Works will be on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026. The meeting is now adjourned at 11:40 a.m. and we'll be starting our Bureau Heads meeting. Thank you very much.